Hello, everybody. This is Ashley K. Pittman. How is everyone? I am a speaker, best-selling author, pregnancy loss mentor, and a publisher. And today we have the pleasure to talking with Miss Shir'Lee Elesse, who is also a best-selling author of Don't Struggle in Silence, I Am a Victor. She was one of the wonderful women telling her stories on my last book collaboration. And guys, she is absolutely amazing. You're going to be in for such a treat to hear how her whole story unfolds, guys. Her story is so big that we're going to tell it into two parts. So we're going to do part one today, obviously, and then we're going to do part two tomorrow. Thursday, 9/3 at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we hope that you guys can join and really see and hear what she's going to share and just kind of see how she has not let the adversity define who she is as a woman and as a child of God. So we are about to introduce Miss Shir'Lee Elesse. Hi, Shir'Lee.
Yes.
Guys, when I say Shir'Lee, guys, she has overcome so much, guys. She has been such a survivor, and now she is no longer surviving. She is no longer surviving, guys. She is a best-selling author, speaker, sexual trauma, and cancer survivor, and a foster care advocate, guys. So we are introducing her. Miss Shir'Lee, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we want to know, just give us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Oh, okay. Well, a little bit about me. I guess they'll find out once we start diving into this interview a little bit more. But currently I work with special needs children. I also work with foster children. I mentor. I also work with I don't want to say, I guess, typical children, if that's what you want to call it. Right. I love kids. I love teenagers. I love people. I'm a speaker. I'm a mentor. And, that's just pretty much what I'm doing, what I got going on now, writing my book, working on a few other projects.
Okay. So I've learned so much about you, Shir'Lee, so much. And so I did not know that your father was deaf. Can you tell us how how all that affected you as a child and what your childhood was like, starting like where all of it really truly began?
Well, for me, so I grew up in foster homes. So I guess when you grow up with something or you're around something from a very early age, you don't really look at it as different. So my father, he was hearing impaired. He couldn't hear at all. Everybody thought that was cool. I don't know. I guess he was just my dad. I never really paid attention to it until I got older. And then for me, it was just like, man, I want to hear my dad's voice. I wonder what my father, I wonder what he would sound like saying my name or saying I love you or anything like that without just hand motions. But, a lot of people thought it was just so cool and interesting. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's not interesting to me. It's my dad and I want to hear him talk to me. But like I said, I grew up in foster homes. I was in and out of foster homes from the time I was born until about the age of 9.5. And then when I was 9.5, the lady that I had moved in with, she later adopted me at 14. Okay. And so I've been there ever since then. So growing up for me was it was kind of interesting. I mean, I guess like you had mentioned before, when you said I am no longer surviving, I actually got to that realization earlier this year. I'm not surviving. Growing up in such a traumatic lifestyle, you have to learn how to survive. Oftentimes I tell my story. A lot of people are like, how are you still standing? What did you go through? How did you make it through? Why are you still here? And for me, again, because I was a survivor, I had to survive that moment and get to the next moment. And then when abuse occurred again, I had to survive from that moment and then get to the next moment. And then you just keep going. Before you know it, you're an adult, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. I really am just surviving. I've never really dealt with anything. When people told me that my story, really bless them or motivate them, inspire them, I would often think like, I have no clue what you're talking about because I lived it. I lived it. I was going through it, and I was learning how to progress, to move forward.
Yes.
So, going back, sexual trauma, not just sexual trauma, but just trauma in general. But sexual trauma was huge for me because of what I want to say, I guess, I don't want to say born into, but just some things that had transpired when I was a very young girl, and then going into foster home, to the next foster home, to the next foster home, and it's supposed to be a safe haven.
Yeah.
But in every home there was abuse, and it was the same type of abuse. So then you get to a point where you're just like, what's the point of telling? Because all they're going to do is move you to another home, and it's going to reoccur again. So you just kind of go with the flow, and you just kind of live and just wait for that long season, I guess, of your life to end.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do as a child, And then, then as I got older, I can remember an instance when I was in 8th grade, I got invited to a house party, and it was some older gentlemen there. I couldn't even tell you who they were if I wanted to. And then, just getting raped in that situation. And then senior year of high school, getting set up by a girl who was extremely jealous of me, and then getting raped in that situation. And then 27 years old, I'm dating a man, and I'm thinking he's supposed to be my boyfriend or whatever. And he puts a gun to my head, and he rapes me and tells me if I ever go anywhere that he would kill me. So you go through all these things. And then at some point in your life, you just live a promiscuous lifestyle. You just think, this is all I'm good at. This is what I was created for. Mm-hmm. But deep inside that there's an emptiness. It's like, I still never believe there has to be good in some man. You couldn't get me to believe that all men were crazy, because I had a great dad, even though he couldn't raise me, part of his disability and some of his own struggles, he couldn't raise me. But I know that all men are not like this. They can't be, you couldn't, even to this day, you couldn't convince me that all men are like that, So I just grew up just thinking, this is what I had to do. This is all I had to offer. But I can remember times being intimate with men, and I would just cry, and I would play it off. They would be like, well, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I would just be like, oh no, it hurts. Or, I would say something along those lines, just because it was just like, what do? You say no, they're going to take it. You say yes, and it's just like, just hurry up and get it over with and just keep pushing. But there was no connection, and you just become an object. And then I went through a period of life where I used sex as a tool. I want to control you. This is something you want to do to me, then I'm gonna control you. And it's just a setup from the enemy, because the more you're giving yourself away more and more, and you're taking on all the different mess that comes with whoever you're with, and then whoever they've been with, and then it just becomes this vicious cycle of just hatred and anger, and you begin to hate yourself, you begin to hate the people that abused you, you just begin to hate everything, and then one bad decision leads into another bad decision. And before you know it, you're living a lifestyle that you stop and you're looking and you're just like, how did I get here? Because you get to a certain age, you can only blame people for so long. At some point, you take responsibility for who you are. Yes. There's always a root to everything. But at the same time, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, you know what? Okay, there may be a root, but I can pull this root up and I can replant something else. And so that's what I had to learn how to do with myself. I had to learn how to pull up roots that other people planted in me, and other roots that I had planted in myself. I had to learn how to dig those up and say, you know what, I'm going to plant the type of flower that I want to plant. And this is what this flower is going to look like. She's going to be this type of woman, and I'm going to be this type of woman. And this is how I'm going to carry myself. This is how I'm going to believe. And this is my perspective. And this is what I want my life to be. And this is the type of man that I will date or that I will marry. And this is what my life will be like, but it takes a lot of gardening. So to speak. You have to go back and you have to just pull up all the junk. You can't live a Febreze lifestyle. You spray the smell goods to cover up the outside, but underneath that stuff is dirty, it's nasty, it's funky, bacteria. You got all kind of stuff in there. It's like, honey, you got to pull that mess up.
Wow. You shared a lot. But I do want to back it up a little bit, because you did share a lot about the sexual trauma experiences that you have experienced. And I'm absolutely sorry that you have had to experience all of those, those events and challenges and everything that comes with that. So when was your first I want to say negative sexual experience. When did that first occur for you?
I was about 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just and the reason why I don't go into depth about that too much is just because there's other parties involved, and I
Yeah.
don't want to tell other people's stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a man that my mom was married to at the time. So yeah, that's where all that started.
Wow. And so you said you were in and out of foster homes. So when you went to your, I guess your, so how old were you when you went to foster homes from, pretty much since birth, time of birth,
Pretty
right?
much on and off. Yeah, I would go to foster home, and then, I guess things would go right, and they would meet certain requirements, and I go back home, and then back and forth or whatever until eventually, my mom just lost custody of us altogether, completely.
Okay. So when did you first experience your first negative sexual experience in foster care? Was that what age was that?
That I could remember, I had to be about 6.
Okay.
Yep. And it was just always, it was just always the same thing. Like every single home, it was the same experience.
Wow.
It was the same exact experience. So, I just got to the point. I remember one time I was thinking, because one time it was the son of a foster parent. And then another time it was the boyfriend of a foster parent's daughter. So he would come over and visit and different things like that. And I remember thinking, like, I am going to tell, because I don't got no problem telling, but then I started thinking, even at a young age, it's funny how certain parts of your brain, you have to be a little bit more mature in, but then other parts of your brain, because of abuse, like sexual trauma and any other type of trauma, it kind of slows you down in your growing process.
Yeah.
So in some areas, I was a little bit more immature for a long time. And then in other areas, I had to mature more quickly. But I remember thinking, like, what is the point of telling? So we're gonna have to go back to court.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do all these things. And then I'm gonna end up in another home, and it's just gonna be the same thing all over again. So you just wait and you just hope that maybe one day, you'll get adopted by a family that loves you, or, you just grow out of it. You'll just age out of foster care. Wow. And then hopefully, you start, you just have a different life. But then the weird thing about all that is everybody's experience is different. You have some people who might everybody goes different ways. I'm not going to go into all that, but everybody, who gets abused in whatever form, they go different ways. They pick different paths or whatever. And for me, I thought it was going to be a path of freedom. And then it turned out to be a path of promiscuity. I mean, that was literally my life. I didn't have another story. It was literally a day in and day out. And so I figured, this is what I was made for. Somebody always wants something from me. So I have to be available. And even when I'm trying to progress and do things in my life, it's like, I'll help you, but, I'll help you do this, but we can do this. But it was always something. And it's just like, I have to get myself out of this cycle. And it just took a lot of pain. It took a lot of tears. It took a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. Never been suicidal. I'm grateful to God that I've never been suicidal. But I will say there has been plenty of times where I wanted to die. You don't want to be suicidal, but you just kind of wish that you would. For me, I kind of wish that I could have, I guess I kind of seen it like a curtain. I kind of wish I could have died and then just peeked around and looked out the curtain and just see who would cry for me, who would actually care that I was gone, who would have missed me, and then come back alive. But that's not reality. You have to learn how to press through, and you have to decide who are you going to be despite of the mess that people put on you. And I think one of the things that helped me get through a lot of this was not only God, but at a very young age, I believe that God has really blessed me with the ability to be able to see things from multiple perspectives. Yeah. Even as a young girl, I can remember thinking, well, my stepfather did this because something happened to him when he was little. You know what I mean? So it was, yes, he's bad, or what he did was wrong, but somebody hurt him too. It was never that evil. I hate him. I'll never forgive him. I'm like, no, I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. I mean, you messed up my life for a very long time, but he paid his debt to society. I'm not holding him accountable. He's already been held accountable. I'm not, he doesn't deserve my attention or my time. So,
what
Go
What
ahead.
a way! I'm sorry. What a way to look at that after being hurt and abused, but still having to be able to look at it in that way, in that perspective, Shirley. And I know so many people that whoever does, that's tuning in now or watch the replay of this would gain so much clarity from you sharing that, because a lot of times when people hurt us, we want to hold grudges, and we don't
Oh,
want to
absolutely.
get forgiveness, and we don't want to, we want something bad to happen to you. um,
Mhm.
but your perspective, even from my own personal self and my own journey, that just shed so much light for me, to have that perspective and to look at it from different perspectives, and the person that may be doing you wrong or the person that did do you wrong, to show some grace and also some forgiveness. So thank you for showing that and being such a big of a person to be able to see it in that way. So thank you. Thank
I
you so much.
appreciate that. It would, but I will say it's not always easy.
Yeah,
It's not one of those things where I just wake up and I'm like, oh, the roses are so red, the sun is
yeah,
out, and I forgive you.
yeah,
I often tell people one of the hardest things for me to do is to not do to someone what I know I could do to them.
yes,
And I'm like, there's a lot of people, I'm telling you, I will body slam you in the middle of the road. I will break your neck. And I'm like, listen, there's been plenty of times, that I'm like, God, I need you to help me because you love them. I ain't die. I don't care, and you gotta get back to the point of who am I and who do I want to be and who do I want to represent. And I think when you have something that you're focused on,
yeah,
I like we talked about before in some of the other podcasts and different things like that, even in the book,
yeah,
we're somebody else's answer. And
yes,
I don't want to just be out here, choke slamming people, although I could. I've done my share of acting a fool before. But I'm telling you, and that's the hardest thing, because you die to yourself. You die to the fact that I will whoop your tail in 2.3 seconds. I know I can.
yes,
And I could. But
yes,
it's just like God. And then you're watching these people, whoever did you wrong, you're watching them and you're sitting there thinking like they are walking around like they just got away with something. I'm like, God, if you just
yes,
close your eyes for a
yes,
second, let
yes,
me just punch her dead in her mouth. But then you're like, you know what? I can't live like that. I literally made a vow. I'm going to live for God, and I'm not perfect in everything, but this is the area I'm like, Lord, I
yeah,
can't live this way. And, because the older you get, there's more consequences,
yeah,
but I mean, that's a very hard thing to do. But I believe that we're all born with certain gifts. I believe that we all have certain abilities and different things, whether it's some people forgive easy, some people love hard. I mean, just all kind of things. And for me, I'm not saying I'm the greatest at forgiveness, but forgiveness has never really been a struggle for me. God has always given me the ability since I was a child to just look at things from a different perspective and say, you know what? Okay, this happened, but maybe he used this for his glory so I can be a blessing to somebody else. Because I'm not about to sit around and cry. If I got to be on this earth for 100 and some years, I'm not about to sit and cry all these years about what happened to me. I got things to do, and
yes,
I got things that I want to do, and I don't want to be. I hate feeling stuck and I hate feeling trapped.
yes,
So for me, it's just like, I'm going to let this thing go. And, now there's things about, even though I forgive the people, the
yes,
multiple people, there are still things, bad habits started to get a hold of me, certain mentalities, ways of thinking, and just certain patterns of my life that I had to begin to break, and, getting over the fear of saying no. And I think a lot of people really don't like to address that, but there is a real life fear of saying no. And that can be in any area. But for me, it took me a long time. And the Lord really revealed that to me. I struggled so much, Ashley, with being able to tell people no. And I'm saying men, it's not all men, but that's just who I dealt with.
yeah,
So for me, it was hard to say no, because it was just that fear of, you're going to do it anyway,
yeah,
or what's going to happen. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do this. So I'm
yeah,
going to go ahead and do it anyway. And then you're left feeling dirty, empty, angry. You're back to being bitter. You drink yourself out of that frustration,
yeah.
and then you move on to the next person who has a better promise.
Mhm.
Oh, you've been through that. I'm so sorry. I would never do that. But
Yeah,
it just comes in another form. You
yes,
know what I mean? And
yes,
so I
yes.
had to really get delivered from the fear of saying no. And now it's like, hell no, I ain't doing nothing. It's, sometimes you gotta progress. Sometimes you gotta get angry with that thing and just say, you know what? I
Yes.
can't live with this. I can't do it. Yeah.
Oh, Shirley, I really love you. I can listen to you talk like forever because you
Oh,
so real and honest, and you say how you feel, and
Absolutely.
you tell the truth like it is. So, and so many people, a lot of stuff that you are saying, people think it, but don't voice it. And people that have even had similar experiences of what you're speaking of still won't say it or have the courage to say it or just feel brave enough or safe enough, really honestly, to feel like that they can share without judgment. And you come busting out these walls and doors like, no, I'm telling my story. This is what happened.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it is what it is, you know, but just being able to open up and share, God, I mean, just you literally, just the perspective piece that you just gave me for some people in my life that I'm working through forgiveness. Literally, we've had this conversation.
Yes,
it's helped me so much. So I truly appreciate it so much. Now, I know we talked about you going to foster care, and when did things begin to uplift for you? Coming out of foster care.
Honestly, so like I said, I went through the 8th grade, the situation in 8th grade, the situation my senior year, and then when I was 27 years old. But by the time, I became an adult, I was so dysfunctional. I was mentally and emotionally, I was still like, I had the mindset of a 10-year-old girl. Like, they often say where the age that you get abused at is the age where you get stuck in. So some parts was like a 4-year-old, some parts was like a 6-year-old, some parts was like a 10. It's hard because everybody is different. So every case is different. Everybody's different. Every situation is different because callings are different. Purposes are different. Lifestyles are different. Everything is different. So for me, for Shir'Lee, it was hard trying to find out who I was because remember, I went from foster home to foster home. Yeah. And kids are very impressionable. And I'm a very visual person, and I notice everything. I mean, literally everything. And so if I'm in one home, I'm picking up the personality and the things that I like about this person. But then I go to another home and I'm like, I like this. And I go to another home. So then by the time I'm a teenager, I'm like, who in the hell? But it didn't even matter. It's like, you just going to be everybody in one. So I'm just like a walking bipolar teenager. Like who am I? What am I here for? And then I carried that into adulthood. And then you try to take pieces of sermons that you've heard, but you're so broken. You haven't even dealt with those parts, but you're trying to like that Febreze lifestyle. It's like, okay, I heard a good word. And so I'm trying to cover it up over all these feelings, over all this pain, over all the abuse, over all the neglect, over all the hurt. And then it's just like, okay, but this ain't working. So then you get more angry. And then it's just like, okay, but I'm going back to what I know, and all I know is sex. So it's just like, but what I know, what I want to be is loved by God, but I'm torn between sex because that's my first experience and that's all my body knows and that's all my body responds to. But I'm like, but I feel this other pull over here, and I'm like, but I know they're saying that this God man loves me and that things are, but then you go to church and the men in the church do the same thing. So it's like, okay, so then I'm even more stuck and I'm even more confused because then you got married men and then you got men in leadership, and then it's just like they're throwing themselves at you and they're trying to do the same things to you. So you're just like, you're stuck. So then my walk with God just became, I'll go to church because I really do love you. But then at the same time, it's just like, but my body has an experience with something else, so it just became this tug of war for years. It just became this tug of war. And then it got to the point where it was just like, I'm not going to be phony. I'll sit in church and it's like, Shir'Lee, what you about to do? I'm about to go meet somebody. Why are you asking? You know what I'm about to do. That's like, really? It finally just got to a place where I'm just like, God, my first experience with love has always been abuse. So you go to what you know.
Yeah.
I'm an abuse magnet. I'm used to being abused, so I'm going to go to it doesn't matter what form, that's where I'm going to go, and so it just got to a point where, I finally just was like, okay, God, I want to live for you. I want to do the right things, but, I'm sitting up here crying my eyes out, but I know within, and I might, the interesting thing about the devil is he'll allow you to have a few good weeks. He might even allow you to have a few good months. He may even allow you to have a year or two, but he's going to bring that thing back up, and I've had some moments where it's just like, okay, I had the victory there.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where it was just so bad. I finally just married my first husband. I just was like, I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of being abused. I'm tired of being taken advantage of. I'm tired of making up excuses. I'm tired of being afraid. I need somebody to protect me. So I get married, and that didn't work out. That was horrible. And so it's just like, I get angry at God again. So I'm like, I'm thinking I'm getting married. Shouldn't this work? I'm doing it the right way. Shouldn't it work? And then I lose my babies. Here I am believing you to have kids. I get pregnant and then I don't have them. So I'm like, okay, God. I know everybody keeps saying it's for your glory, but I'm sitting here like, so I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let me do the church thing. Let me act religious. Let me smile a little bit. And I've never really been a fake person, but the problem is there really isn't a whole lot of people to talk to.
Yes.
It seems like the people who are the realists are the ones who are not in church, but it's like, but I don't want to live your lifestyle either. So I want to be here in church. But then if you talk to the people in church, they dogging you about why you living like this. And it's just like, you know what? So then I'm going to go back out to what I'm used to doing, having sex. Okay. So I get married. I get mad at God. I run away from God. I don't even care about the calling and purpose no more because I'm tired of hearing the religious God got a call and the Lord told me. It's like, yeah, the Lord told you everything. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And so then I get married to my second husband. That was a violent altercation. So after about 2 months, it was like a celebrity wedding. After like a celebrity marriage, after about 2 months, we got a divorce, and then I move on to my third husband, which was the absolute worst one ever. Because he was supposed to be a man of God. And you talk about mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. And it just got to the point where it's just like, I'm done, But I got to a place where the Lord began to reveal to me, you don't really understand. Because in the Bible, it talks about how that a marriage between a husband and wife is like a reflection of Christ's relationship with the church. That's why we're called the bride and he is our groomsman. Yeah. So it has to be the exact correlation. I never had that revelation, so I was marrying to get out of things instead of running to God to get out of things, and so, I was putting people on pedestals who did not deserve it. I was just throwing myself away because I'm like, I don't want to live in sin. And they're like, well, it's better to marry than to burn. So I was like, let me get married. But then I'm coming in with more baggage, and then baggage from the other one. And then I got like all this luggage, you know what I'm saying? And then they got all this luggage because, drama attracts drama, And so, I mean, you're just a hot mess. So, and then I get to a place where I'm really angry with God because I'm like, you gave me all these promises. You told me that things were going to happen. And then I ended up marrying a man who was supposed to be the man of God. And all this stuff happened. Out of all the abuse, the sexual abuse, the foster care, the rejection, the drama, the rapes, the cancer, even overcoming cancer, losing my children, all of that, he was the worst thing I've ever experienced. And he would use the word to abuse me. So then it got to a place where I was just like, you know what, God, I don't want nothing to do. I'm tired of church. I'm tired of religion. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. You give me parents, they abuse me. You give me more parents in the form of foster parents, they abuse me. You give me a husband, he abuses me. It's like you give me this life abuses me. So what exactly, like, is this funny to you? Like, is this what you want to do? But I remembered all the times also that God doesn't fail. And that's something I always chose to believe. God doesn't fail. Wherever there's anything that's flawed, it has something to do with our perspective or what we're not doing. And I know that to be true because I had to stop and I had to go back and I had to remember all the things that he brought me from. My deathbed several times. He did that. No man could have done that, And so I had to remember, I'm like, God, you're not like this. So something is flawed within me. And it just got to the point where it was like, Shir'Lee, you don't even understand my love. You don't understand what love really is. Yeah. Because you watch, you got people on TV, you got a new Prada bag, you got a new red bottoms. Oh, my man loves me, baby. That ain't love. That's just money, and you just get to this place where you see all these different things and none of that equals love, and so God has just been really walking me through that. And so pretty much that's the season where, I'm pretty much coming out of that season and opportunities are opening up for me, like we just did our book. Right. We just became best-selling author. Well, you've been a best-selling author. I just became a best-selling author, and, and just doing things like that. So to answer your question, when was there really a break? You know what? There really wasn't. I can never really remember truly a time where my whole entire year was, I had a great year or I had a great few months. You know, it was either, you know, it was like, okay, it was good for a little bit and then this would happen and then this would happen and then this would happen and then this would happen. And because of my personality and who I am, I hate to be defeated. And I just hate feeling like, you know what? The devil wants me to fail just so I can say, you're fighting me so hard to not believe in God. I feel like I have to keep doing it because there's a reason why you don't want me to. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's just where I'm at. I'm just like, Lord, okay, you are who you say you are. You're going to make it happen. And he has been blessing and blessing and blessing and walking me through things that I didn't even know I can get through. I got another victory this morning. You and I talked about it via text earlier. That we've been praying for, a breakthrough, a deliverance, a separation. And so, you know, God has just been doing so much so fast, you know. But you do kind of wonder, like, God, I mean, I've had moments where I'm just like, not so much why me, because I never really thought, like, who am I to even say why me? Like, I don't know. I just, my mind, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, but my mentality doesn't think that way. I just don't think that way. I mean, anything can happen to anybody. I'm not special to where it's like, why me? You know, why not you? Who? I mean, I don't know. So, but I would always think this though, like, God, when is this going to end? And what's the point of it? Maybe if I knew why I was going through something, maybe I would be okay with going through it. But I don't even see the end. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're preparing me for. So my frustration is, why am I going through this? For what? Can you show me something? You know, and that's when he just begins to say, to whom much is given, much is required. And you are somebody's answer. And I'm just like, well, you know what? That's what keeps me motivated. I have someone else's answer.
Yeah, you have been through so much, Shir'Lee. And guys, we have not even spoken on her surviving cancer, her losing her children. Like, when I say her story is so big, it is so big. And it makes you just want to just hug her. Like, we have yet to be in person, but you best believe when me and her can come together, we're hugging so tight because she has been such a light to my life, to my collaboration, just to everything, just that she touches, guys. She's a true light. But Shir'Lee, you're incredible. You're just incredible, and the way that you speak of your story with such grace. Because again, like I always say, guys, and you know, my mission is don't struggle in silence, right? And the way that I mentor women and the way that I do my collaborations to release pain and emotions, or even just to begin to start healing, is to talk about it, speak about it. And that's exactly what Miss Shir'Lee Elesse is doing. She wrote about her story with losing her babies. Now she's speaking about sexual trauma, overcoming cancer, guys, cancer, sexual trauma, foster care advocate. Like, what haven't she been through? Right. Look at her. Look, she's so full of grace, guys. And she has such a big heart. And Shir'Lee, man. So we're not even going to get into you overcoming cancer, that battle. We're not going to even start talking about you losing your children, because we're going to save all that for part 2. But just what you shared now, like I said, me personally, and whoever, like I said, is on live now and we watch the replay, they're gonna be like, I love her. Like, I know for a fact my sister loves you because you're amazing. Like, I just want you to truly know how amazing you are. And just being able to tell your story. And I want to thank you so much for just coming on and being vulnerable. I don't say vulnerable, because it's not easy telling what you've told, and I don't know, being okay with it, I guess, because some people just aren't, and you are. And like you said, you are somebody's story. You are somebody's answer. Man, my answer today.
Oh, thank you so much.
Today. So what advice can you give someone? Somebody is watching this live, somebody's going to watch the replay that is in foster care right now, going through exactly what you've been through. What advice would you give them?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would just keep telling. The foster care system has changed so much since I was, I'm 40.
Yeah.
So it changed so much from all those years ago.
Yeah.
And then just keep telling, never stop telling, it is painful because you don't want to keep moving. There's no stability,
Mm-hmm.
And it can be frustrating, but it'll help keep your conscience clear as well, because it'll protect the next person behind you. It's like, and when you stop telling, you kind of leave other people vulnerable. Not saying it's so much your fault. I don't think you're penalized for not doing it, but I just think, that foster kids, we have a strength that most people they don't give us credit for. You hear foster kids, you always hear you're bad, you're trouble, you're whatever. And it's just like, no, we have an unbelievable strength, especially the ones who get bounced around, and I would just say, whatever the reason is, don't give up hope and connect with people who've been there. And just, seek out mentorship and just really, don't be afraid to tell your story.
Yes. Oh, wow. I love that. I love that. So I do cry, okay, but I'm not going to. I'm just so touched. I mean, I am so.
Please don't cry, because it took me a minute to put these lashes on, and I ain't trying to cry. I ain't got time for that.
I'm just touched just because you're miraculous, and
thank you.
I mean, God, just I don't know. You're just amazing. But so I know with the sexual trauma, if somebody is experiencing that in foster care or not in foster care, as a child, a teenager, or even as an adult, what advice would you give? What advice would you give to them getting through that?
Again, like I mentioned earlier, everybody's different. And it's not enough to just say people are different. I mean, we got to look at the bigger picture. Purposes are different. Callings are different. Where we come from is different. Everything is different. But the thing about it is, I know sometimes people get irritated with me because I always say, I forgive all my abusers. And if I can write them letters, which I want to, some of them I can't find, I want to just tell them, I forgive you. Like, that's the greatest gift I could give them, And I think sometimes we forget when we talk about God and Jesus and dying, we think it's literally just for us. Like, we have this story and woe is me, and Jesus died for me, and I was the one abused. And it's like, he died for them too. Like he died for the abusers. And a lot of people don't want to hear that because they're so angry. And it's just like, well, how could God? It's not about God. We have our free will. And that's what makes God so wonderful. He allows us free will, and some people just happen to do awful things. But perspective is everything. And being honest, it hurts. And I mean, you got it. Like I said up in the book with the whole baby thing. And I know we'll elaborate on this on Thursday, but you have to be right where you are. And if you're hurting and you're pissed off, you're angry, you're broken, you're mad, you want to cuss and throw something across the room and whatever, however you get through that, allow God into that moment and be honest with it and find somebody you can connect with, whether it's, a counselor or a good friend, a good book, or whatever it is you need, maybe even this podcast, or, just reaching out to somebody who's been there, swallowing your pride and just really reaching out and just asking for help. Because again, everybody is somebody's answer. Every single person is somebody's answer in something, and somebody is, I'm a very visual person. Like, I think about a lot of things, like in movie form, or I don't know, like in my mind, I really think like right now, like right at this second, somebody is crying. Somebody doesn't know nothing about a podcast. They don't know nothing about Facebook or whatever, in another country or whatever. All ages, it could be male or female, young, old, or whatever. And they're literally crying out and they're like, God, I can't make it. The abuse that I've endured was so I can't do it. My mind, my thoughts are bombarding me. They're overtaking me and I can't do it no more. And God is like, oh, I got an answer for you. I got somebody who has the answer for you, whether it be Ashley K. Pittman or whether it be Boldly Shir'Lee Elesse or whoever it is. I have that answer. But if we don't stand in the gap, if we don't stand in the rightful place of who we are, and that person will never get set free because of us, or even if they do, maybe it'll take a lot longer for them to get to where they need to be. And so I just think about that. Like, I can't quit because somebody is depending on me and I love people so much. And I just couldn't imagine holding on to stuff. Like, I just don't think people deserve that much from me. Like, I know a lot of people say, when I think about people who told me I could never make it, I think about them and it just makes me push harder. I'm like, you don't make me push harder. I don't want to think about you that much. I'm like, I push harder because I'm gonna push harder. I don't care. I ain't doing it for the haters. I don't care about you. I ain't thinking about you. But that's the same thing with the people who have abused us. I don't think about you. I don't do it to show you that you couldn't stop me. I don't care. You couldn't stop me regardless, because it just wasn't in his plan for me to be stopped. And so, I don't even allow my own self to get in my way. So I really ain't going to allow nobody else to get in my way. And so I really encourage people to just, even if you can't forgive, just make it a conscious effort to say, you know what, God, I can't forgive and I won't forgive, but I know I need to forgive. Bring me to that place. Help me to get to that place where I can begin the forgiving process, and it becomes so much easier when you give that over to him, because when you carry all that weight, I'm telling you, you just create madness for yourself. It never goes away. It's just constantly before you. And then you turn into a bitter Betty, and it's just not worth it.
Bitter Betty.
A bitter Betty.
No, it's not worth it, because we know all that negative heaviness.
Absolutely.
It overtakes everything, even just a little bit of ounce of positivity that you might have. If you're so heavy with all that negative energy and just, like I said, what you call it? Negative, but what is it?
Bitter Betty.
Bitter Betty. Yeah. Bitter Betty. Bitter Betty stored in here. Ain't nothing gonna make sense. It's just not. A positive, it has to be positivity versus negative, because negative is a lot stronger than positive. Maybe that's backwards. Maybe I said that backwards. I think positive is more stronger than negative, but depending on what it is, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you know. Just still be happy. Something like that.
Just be positive. Just stay positive.
Right. But Shir'Lee, thank you, love, for absolutely just amazing show segment. Because it's been very eye-opening for me, and eye-opening for whoever is watching live, and then whoever watches the replay. Going to absolutely fall in love more with you, because I know more of where you come from, what you've had to get through, even up to the point to the book, which is not here at the moment. But your story it starts way early, just with the trauma that you've experienced, and look where you are today. Look who you are today. You still have a beautiful heart, not heavy. Now, are we human and still working through things? We all, we all are. We still working on, things. Human. I don't think we could grow if we wasn't working on things that, we knew we need to get stronger in, or better in, or strengthen our weaknesses. So, but where you are today as a person, I would say I would give you an A+, because you've been through a lot, and we haven't even got to part 2 yet. So, but up until, if we get to part 2, in the meantime, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk about possible mentorship, or have you speak on one of their platforms, or just connect with you, just to get to know who you are, where can we find you at?
I'm on Facebook, boldly Shir'Lee Elesse, SHIR, little the hyphen, whatever that is, LEE, Elesse, ELESSE. I'm on Instagram, Thyroid Cancer Victorious. That's who I am on there. Or they can always email me, boldlyshirleyelesse@gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm working on my website. I'm a little slow.
New things coming, guys. New things coming. But yes. If you're interested and want to connect with her, just to get to know who she is, or if you're stuck in either one of those places that she has had to really, really come through, guys, connect with her. Because I'm telling you what, you would be blessed, very blessed, just speaking with her. And like I said, she's had these experiences. And if you are someone that know that you're not open to really sharing, but just want to connect with somebody that can at least wait, is that right? At least be able to relate, she can, guys. And I think, like I said, Thursday, 9/3, we will do part 2, and we will share more about her pregnancy loss, and also overcome cancer, guys. Man, when I say there's nothing that she has not been through, woo, it's not. And I'm so glad that she has come on to give us a little bit more insight of her background and what she has, like I said, overcome. And that's why we said, don't let your and life adversity define who you are. And she has been the perfect example to not let that happen.
Thank you.
So, Miss Shir'Lee, do you want to add anything else before we close out? No.
Because I'll start talking and we'll be on here for another hour.
Okay. That's fine.
I know my limits.
Guys, again, thank you for hopping on and coming to check us out and listen to Miss Shir'Lee Elesse story. And please join us on 9/3, which is Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, so we can hear part 2 of her story. So that is it. Thank you for watching and have an amazing day. And remember, please continue to give yourself permission to heal and don't struggle in silence. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Let's see.